To start, for the debate, I would like to call Professor Maria de Fátima to coordinate this. Good evening to all. I would like to congratulate everybody for the marvelous presentation of everybody. I would like to thank Dr. William Wiseman for the invitation. Me as a doctor of the Funda Centro, I make part of on impacts of nanotechnologies, health of employees, and the environment. I'm fascinated with everything that has been presented today regarding the benefits of nanotechnology in medicine. Thinking on our patients, the possibilities are countless. Efficiency in early diagnostics and evasion of treatments that are painful. This all goes through my head. This would be a large benefit when we see the lack of knowledge regarding toxicological issues. But I wouldn't like to talk more about that. There are many doubts. I think the largest part of the population are not doctors. I wouldn't like to focus specific issues, just a few initial and fast, quick issues before opening the debate. To Professor Tedesco, I would like him to talk about the possibility of applying the technique to other skin diseases, if there is a possibility, and regarding visceral tumors, could you talk about the human prostate and liver, prostate? Is this alternative or is it complementary in terms of tumor masses, or if it was initially just a reduction of the mass and after a tumor dissection? To Professor Fabio, I would like to ask him about TB. Do you have any answer about this application in TB? In the case you mentioned, is there a backup in the cavitary pneumonia, or can you apply it to, or depending on the extension of the lesion, also regarding the time of treatment? And for both, I would like to ask the same question as a doctor regarding the difficulties that Tedesco said about the application of public policies. In your perception, how is the receptivity of the medical community within the specs of each one of you about these new therapies, about TSD, and how is the receptivity of the medical community concerning all that? Thank you. Regarding the application to other kinds of tumor systems, we don't have approval here in Brazil. The post-dynamic therapy is used for more than 40 years and has indications for other kinds of treatments. We're ending the process of treatment for phase 1, prostate and uterus. When we go to the systemic treatments, with bladder, we have difficulties making it possible in the clinical point of view. We have to develop a formulation with chemotherapy that are released. Another thing is to work with a new drug that is photoactivate, a new molecule that needs to have a screening of the molecule, and then you have to add to this system a specific system that delays the whole system, and the reduction of the tumor mass. This is also important. There is a limitation for the photodynamic therapy, which is the strengthening of the lesion. We depend basically on on the production of free radicals. There's no clinical indication here in Brazil and in no other part of the world because there's no efficient production of free radicals that can do this process of apoptosis. And there are other alternatives that are used for molecules that produce nitric oxide, but this is still on the study phase. The main limitation is in stage and development. Where do they have in our country practice? A good application is in the skin cancer treatment, which is topic treatment that can be extended to other skin lesions. There are studies, and we're working for leishmaniasis and other molecules associated to other skin diseases, scarring, mycosis, fungicides, using basically the same principle associated to a drug, photoactivated molecule, and doing the luminous activation. There is this possibility. But in the case of cancer, we have the limited application, considering that the skin cancer, which is non-melanomic, corresponds to 90% of the cancers in Brazil, which is the second one that kills more in Brazil. We have a very fertile field of application of this therapeutic proposal. Regarding the public policy, I am enthusiastic, but I don't see it very well, this movement, because we have had years of work and the results are published, are disseminated every time something new is published in skin cancer treatment and nanotechnology. We talk of more 600 patients treated with 90% healing possibilities, and we have only 3 outpatients and we have to transform it. In my experience in the state of São Paulo was very frustrating. And in Brazil generally it was quite frustrating to us. So I hope to believe that somebody will arise this subject and will avoid an unneeded cost. While this does not happen, I'll do my ant work and doing my outpatient house. Regarding TB, we made a dossier. We're looking for some companies. It's very easy. We need to advance in a few issues regarding the development of research. At a certain point, we need to have investments. I'm answering your second question already. We need stronger investments. In our case, we were forced to go to the market to look for a company for patents, and we have the patents, the process of production. We bring this to the market with a company that is incubated at BioRio. Able to the scale up of this, the bottleneck is a group of companies of innovation for innovation, and it's a large company that is working with. We need to force the government to verify this kind of thing because we have a large bottleneck with the lab issue. So Professor Silvia agrees with that. We need to have more resources. We need to have specialized labs. I need the NB3 to start doing a study with more properties. And the results are very interesting. Today we will do the scale-up of this product. Some tests. We have a protocol that is assembled for contamination with the efficiency of accumulation, with any toxicological doubts. Need to answering your first question. We hope to reduce dramatically the the TB treatment. The It takes about 14 days to do the treatment. What's the difficulty? It's the action site. It's very far by oral way. So this was the first difficulty we had because this polymer costs $14,000 the kilo. It's very extremely expensive. So there are very few groups that work with PLA. We lost some time developing the synthesis of the polymer and are getting vertical now. I try to be more compact. We have developed the first polymer and then we went to the fast and easy processes of purification, and we associated to other groups in the country that deal with toxicity. So we have large perspectives regarding TB and other pulmonary disease, lung diseases with this system. Anybody has question? My name is Paulo Martins of the Nanotechnology Network. My question is for Tedesco. It's a pleasure to see you in our seminar, and you still go on working in this area. We are always mentioned on the last slide. When you mentioned the social, ethical, and impacts. There is a researcher. You have a researcher. You ask me this every year. And yes, a researcher, I want to work with you to make a survey. It's important to do this follow-up, not only for the production, but the social scientist is very important to us because he has a human horizon, because the cancer is a disease that has a social impact much more than environmental, very large. It's essential that we follow this up with the view of the patient to submit to experimentation with a new process, because what he's doing, we know, well, this is not legalized by Anvisa. This is a clinical trial or research that needs to be evaluated. This availability was always open and continues to be open. I think this partnership will bring us a return and will also change the way we convince society that this is feasible. There is a reality, but we must be doing a failure someplace, or maybe not clear enough in the presentation of clinical results, because I cannot move those who need to transform it into public policy. Maybe a social scientist could help me out with that. My name is Tanya. I come from the Federal University of Sergipe. It's a pleasure to be Tedesco in seminars. We only see each other once a year in seminars. I would like to ask you two questions. First, what is needed to bring outpatient treatment to Sergipe? Which are the steps? I was discussing this with Wilson, and he also has interest in that. But you said you cannot do this. But why can't you do that? Which are the drawbacks? What do you need to do? You told me that there is the Anvisa problem. Is that a problem for the state? I'm asking only. I have a lot of interest. I remember the first time you presented this issue. I would like to help you in working in this area. In Sergipe, we have the strong sun influence and beach, and we have a large number of people with skin cancer there. Quite a lot. And the treatment is the one, either it's surgical or the person dies. These people think this cancer doesn't kill, but they think that cancer is different from other cancers. This is an issue that interests me. And the second one is there's somebody from the social science or from policies could help in terms of analyzing public policies. Which are the steps needed to work out to be sensitive to public policies in health? One thing is to stay in the lab and doing tests, be worried. And the other one, who is in the same area, can do the analysis of the society and create this kind of level of dialogue. The patient feels important, but on the other side, it's also more important what you say. You're working on this for years, and things never changed. My concern is very huge. I told this to the teacher of Israel, and I can see that the treatment can be democratical because the cost is low and it could be accessible, and this is essential. This is what you want. You want to make it available, make it accessible in that sense. Okay.
The model that we adopt normally, and which I have seen in other experiences, that you have to have a critical mass. It is fundamental that you have professionals in the health area, dermatologists, pathologists, and the hospital school that will be interested in implementing this in the ambulatory. Without the professional, we will not be able to do it. The Anvisa, today we have a convenium of research that guarantees that this, approved by the ethical committee, local ethical committee, be it by the unity of health, whatever, it has to go through the ethical convene and produce this material. And so what do I offer here? I offer all the know-how that we have in laboratories. I bring the people. I train the professionals who will work with that. I'll show the realities of each of these outpatient hospitals, and each doctor develops a work routine. But without the interest of this critical mass of who will apply effectively the ointment, the light, I won't be able to do more of what I do, that is to produce this cream. And also they will have to have fundings to mount this outpatient hospital, and I can think of making this cream and the ointment and take that, send it to them. Each outpatient hospital of these opens fronts for new research. The UNIFES began this year a study with immunocompromised patients, because the ones who had kidney transplant, and they have this some diseases, and Brasilia is asking the opening of treatment of mouth cancer. Each laboratory creates a reality, and it amplifies the research in the area. Without this interest, we cannot go ahead. I cannot. If we have the critical mass, I will go from Ribeirão to any place in Brazil. I'll talk to them, expose the results, and implement with the convenience we can produce. Your other question, as a political science, how we can produce this. we have just ended a project of public policies, and that sees the transference of the research to the states to be implemented. I finished this project, and the results were excellent. I had a reunion with the health secretary in São Paulo, and he said that they were incapable of implementing this as a public policy. He said that it was better for me to visit 84 hospitals and talk each case of each hospital to see if you talk to a health secretary in São Paulo who has paid during 2 years about this and gave me this answer, then maybe I'm not selling well my what I have to pass to sell. But this has to do with public policies. There has been a proposal 3 years ago of the health ministry, and nothing was done. So I think it is a complicated proposal. I don't think that this is the problem that will avoid us to expand this. When we have 15 ambulatories, and they will see that this works, maybe the public health policy will change. I'm Ana Luisa Fernandes of Dermatology of Dermocruz. For me, it wasn't very clear of the photodynamic therapy versus what exists right now. The phototherapy at the political level, it is used only for pre-neoplastic lesions and superficial tumors of low risk, and it is of a high cost. And I want to know if this nanoparticular product can help in this way. What you said is true. The product, the commercial product that is available is of high cost. And today we have the active principle that is vinculated at a much less cost. For superficial lesions, it changes a bit, and this is what Brasilia is doing now. The first one who's using nanostructured creams that can treat these lesions more profoundly. This is why we are extending this kind of pathology. Melanoma is a restriction due to its color, but to reach to the cellular scan. The cost of the product, commercial costs 800 to 1,000 reais, 700 grams of CVC. We don't have a pharmaceutical lab that costs this. So we really don't have the counterpart. If the professional in the medical area doesn't believe that this therapy can be shown around, I don't sell the cream. I sell a health proposal, but I depend of the medical community. You answered in your last phrase, and the answer is that maybe until now, this is the one that we have. You don't sell the medication, but you sell the proposal. And I think it's exactly because of that that we don't have had success in this. Traditionally, what we see is when you sell or when you place in the market, in the public market, the determinate products, not ideas. And I think that in a certain way, the way in which you are operating is a possible way, as there is no necessity of any other thing when you talk to the secretary and you show obvious data and the answer is the only one. And this is how you create the critical mass. I agree. I know your material, the demonstration of results in which you can establish this. I see that as a necessity and maybe as a more directed policy is the push-up of the production. And when second commentary that I'd like to make is that when we talk about the use of the purification of water, that there is no place where they are developing in the public policy. I would like to say that Fábio Dantas NET has developed, yes, with the public policy. I had the pleasure of seeing their project, and that is for the filtration to use as a reverse osmosis to be utilized in popular housing. So UNT has been doing this while as a public policy, and there's a place where this is being done in Brazil. Just to complement what you said, William, referring to Professor Tedesco, is that what in the public field, when you take the issue of the positive process, the technology of irradiation, present a company and to bring a person who will do this business. This is a business. It's possible that some companies will be interested in your product, and in this way you will be stronger, be able to penetrate in a better way. I know public laboratories, I work with them until today, that I know that there's always a lot of bureaucratic difficulty to absorb these new technologies. They have difficulty with classic technologies. With one like this, it would have to be very much studied, but you have to look for a center like Unicamp, USP, who could orient you, and you could look for companies that would want to invest, because then you know the market very well. You have created the clinical protocol, and what you need, as William said, you need the product. If you have the product, you will have more possibilities. I have already sat in negotiation with 4 laboratories, and I heard from some of them, this is silly. Let's do aesthetics, because cancer doesn't kill. But really, skin cancer doesn't kill. But with aesthetics are more interesting. So, but I know that. But I think that what you said is a way out. My name is Sandra. I'm from Fundação Oswaldo Cruz. My question is, what I worry about is non-toxicity. In the clinical essays, you compose a new substance that would be photosensitive. But the bioavailability, if it is equal to the pattern that is known, if we can make studies in toxicology. I would like to know if any of you have already made this kind of assessment, comparing it with the standard drug. In the skin cancer, it is produced. It is an endogenous drug. There are new molecules of second and third generation in clinical phase. We have a propharmac. It is metabolized by the same organism. So you can perceive that it is bioavailable if you can induce this biological system. These new formalizations, we make them using cells in vitro or in vivo. Is the bioavailability different for new drugs? There is. We are doing this research now, referring to Parkinson and Alzheimer. Through that barrier, the brain barrier, and we are seeing and trying to see if it is being made. We have not finished our studies yet. According to our work, we have worked with old molecules because of patent and also because of information. It is much easier to work with a drug that has 40 years than with a drug that is in patent and that it hasn't much information, and also because the patent protects it. In the drug pharmacokinetic, they are in the protocols. We are seeing this in the preclinical study because they have a serious issue regarding the penetration of the nanoparticle. Some studies say that it has reached the genic therapy, which they are discussing now, that about 6 people have already died. It is a therapy that can be eventually be interesting with the extensive class of illnesses. But what I want to say is that it can be interested, but we need to work the modulation. Today, we don't have the technology to control the modulation. We know that a determined size can reach, for example, the lymphatic system, which are the parameters that can control this. So I think it is a preliminary study, and the objective is to see which is the degree of penetration, the degree of distribution, but this is forward. We'll see this more ahead in the following studies. Alexandre Quaresma, I am a collaborator. It's not exactly a question. I would like to register here my admiration for the work of Mr. Tedesco, Professor Tedesco, and I agree with you. I think that maybe the only logical explanation that we have, the transforming this into a public policy, is maybe because you should sell this well, and I would like to put myself at your disposition with what I produce and with the enthusiasm. I'm sure that this is going to end up happening. I would like to comment that tomorrow one of the presentations is about synetics, and which is a modeling on the high capacity of productivity of a proposal of to try to preview which are the proteins of the proteic corona, and just to remind you and to count with your presence. Any other questions? Anybody else? Well, I would like to thank everybody and our activities today. Thank you very much for being here. And thank you, speakers.